Okay, I'm going to teach meditation today. I'm going to teach a form of meditation called Pranayama, deep breathing meditation. So the first thing is to sit. You can lay down or sit in a chair, but it's best to sit in a lotus position, a full lotus. You have to work towards it, of course. You can do a half lotus, or you can just sit Indian style, like this. The point is to keep your back as straight as possible. And when you're in a full lotus, it makes your back straight. You can't not sit straight in a lotus. So this is the ideal position for meditation. If you can't, do the Indian style, or you can lay down, sit in a chair. Now, the next thing, when you're meditating, you have to breathe, right? So, you're supposed to not think. The main version of meditation is every time a thought comes into your head, to just go back to the space of non-thinking, and then another thought pops up, so you stop thinking. And you do that over and over again until the gaps between thoughts get longer and longer, and your brain waves slow down. Now, if you just do that right from the start, it's usually pretty frustrating. You just sit there, you're like, oh, I'm thinking, I'm try not to think, I'm thinking again, and that's it. And you're just going to do that over and over again. Meanwhile, you got to breathe anyway. We're breathing all the time. So actually, one of the best forms of meditation is to focus on the breathing instead of trying to focus on nothing, because you're breathing anyway. So if you have a single-minded focus, that helps the meditation. There's types of meditation where you just focus your eye on one thing, and that brings about a space of no thought. This is the same idea as that, but instead of focusing on something visual like a mandala, you're focusing on something kinesthetic, your actual breathing. So you could do shallow breathing, you could do mouth breathing, but you might as well do the most beneficial type of breathing possible, which is pranayama, deep breathing. I've taught it in other videos, but I'll briefly go over it again. You want to breathe in through the nose. First breathe out everything through the mouth. Squeeze your abdominal muscles until there's no air left. Then start breathing in through your nose. Fill up your belly, then your chest, and then your shoulders at the end. So it looks like this. Come on. 1, 2, 3. That's 3-part circular breathing. The other method would be called reverse circular breathing, where instead of having your stomach go out and your chest go out and your shoulders go up, you breathe in towards your dantian, this little point right here that sticks in your stomach. So as you're breathing, this part sucks in. That sucks in, your chest comes out, and you breathe out through the mouth. Get everything out. Now the next step to the breathing is the Darth Vader breathing, the cat purring. It's a Ujjayi Pranayama, and maybe if you come closer, you can hear it. The idea is like, everyone can do this, breathing in through the mouth and making that noise with your throat. Do that, but then shut your mouth. So that's the sound of an inhale, a constricted inhale going through my nose. So it slows down the rate that the air is going in. So this is how you can get the deepest breath possible, deep and slow. So first you breathe everything out. And come in through the nose like this. way up, hold it for a second or two, and then slowly breathe out. Squeeze your stomach until there's nothing left, and then in again. All the way up. Feel like it's filling up to the brim. Hold it off, and then out slow. At first you're not going to be able to make it that long, but you want to slowly get the spaces longer and longer. So maybe start with just a 5-second inhale, hold it for a second, and then exhale for 5 seconds, and do that. And then increase it to 6 seconds and 7 seconds. But make the inhale and the exhale the same length. And then you hold the breath in the middle for as long as you can, but start at just a second or two. There's 4 parts to the breathing. So there's the exhalation retention, where there's no air, but you haven't breathed in yet. Then the inhalation, and then the inhalation retention, where you've got full oxygen in your lungs and you haven't breathed it out yet. So those are the 4 steps, and you want to have them equal lengths if you can, especially the inhale, exhale, and the 2 retentions. So of course at first that's a lot to think about, so you're not going to be meditating, you're going to be focusing on deep breathing, and it won't be very meditative at all. But once you've got the deep breathing technique down and it just becomes second nature, then that will just be your natural state when you're in full lotus, back straight. You can close your eyes or leave them open on a point. You can stay perfectly still or sway back and forth. I like to sway. It helps fill up the lungs and it keeps your back from getting stiff. And then eventually, you'll fall into states of alpha, beta, delta brain waves, and you don't have to maintain the deep breathing anymore. You can go to shallow breathing and just be deep in your meditation. But I found the best way to get there is to start with the deep breathing. And even if you're not meditating, at least you're doing one of the most healthful practices possible in doing proper, full, deep breathing. Okay, so I'll do like a demonstration. I'll also do a bit of an Om vibration. So when you're doing the exhale, you can also do like this. Any sort of exhalation noise, it doesn't have to be Om, but that's the traditional one. You start in the back of your throat and work all of the sounds all the way up to the M with your mouth closed. Traditionally it sounds like the Om kind of has like a internal massage effect, as well as just being meditative in itself. It's not necessary. Sometimes you get in the groove. I like to do this in the shower, actually. Just have the hot water coming down on you. Show what happens here. First you breathe out. Squeeze, squeeze. And come in slowly. So if you're focusing on the breathing, every aspect of it, every second, squeeze out, get everything out. Slowly inhale through the nose. Every second, not thinking, but focusing on doing it perfectly. As slowly and deeply as possible, then holding it as long as possible, then letting it out. Feeling what's happening everywhere. There shouldn't be any thought happening. You're just focusing on an internal activity. So thoughtlessness happens of its own accord. So this is like the secret of pranayama. You don't have to try to trick your brain into not thinking. You just focus on doing perfect breathing. And when you're focusing on doing proper breathing, which is an autonomous bodily process anyway, it has to be happening no matter what kind of meditation you're doing. So why not make that your focus? And when that becomes your focus, I mean, I don't know, I wasn't thinking much. I knew I was being filmed, but other than that, popping into my head every once in a while, you're just in a state of being, and you're doing one of the most healthful practices possible, which is perfect, proper breathing. So that's the meditation I do every day. That's my recommendation for meditation, is to learn pranayama breathing, and then focus on it so intensely that it becomes a meditation, and it takes away any other thoughts just based on that intense focus. So you can do the same thing, like I said, with a mandala, those paintings that are geometrical and symmetrical, and they have a single point in the center. You just focus on that one point, and by maintaining a singular focus, all other thoughts just go by. It's like a ticker tape on a news screen, and you don't have to focus on the ticker tape because you're watching what's really happening, which is you being. So that's about it. That's about all I can think of. So hope that helps. If anybody has any questions about how to do pranayama, you can ask in the comments below. Also check out my videos, what's it called? The most important thing in your life, which is all about also this deep breathing. Yeah, so that'll do it. Okay, thank you.